Toshan whiskey friends, welcome for another whiskey rambling here in my Belgian basement. And as you can see, we are returning to my favorite distillery. Go on, raise your eyebrows. Yes, it is Auchentoshan. Now, I explained my reasons in the previous rambling about the Auchentoshan, where we discussed the Auchentoshan Village. But today I want not only to tell you again that I have a soft spot for Auchentoshan, but I also want to explain that Auchentoshan has a soft spot for Bordeaux wine. Yes, red wine casks. They have apparently some soft spot for that, because as you can see, they've already released 4 different single malts that have something to do with red wine, with Saint-Julien Bordeaux, Limousin Oak. Now, it started years ago when they first bottled this one at a 51% ABV. It is an Auchentoshan that had matured for 8 years in bourbon barrels and then 9 years in the Bordeaux cask. So you can hardly call that a wine finish. This is a double maturation because it spent 8 years in bourbon and then 9 years, which is more than 8 years. You get my drift? More than 8 years. So 9 years in Bordeaux casks. So this is more of a double matured whiskey than a finished whiskey. So this is 17 years old. A couple of years later they did the exact same exercise when they released this one. It's the 1988 Bordeaux cask finished. Again, very limited, only 3,600 bottles. Same here, even less bottles here. It's again a Bordeaux wine finish, but can you call it a finish when you know that this one has matured for, again, 8 years in bourbon, but then it spent 12 years in Bordeaux casks. So, well, it's a limited edition, to be sure, and it is simply wonderful. If you've ever tried this one, you will agree that Auchentoshan is able to create a wine finish or a double maturation that works. Because wine finishes or wine maturation is always, it's a tricky business, isn't it? It can be hit and miss. I've had some wine finishes that were, you know, vinous, winey, that was just too soury. There was just, you know, the wine takes over and then it destroys the malt, in my opinion. So wine finishes is always something to be approached with apprehension, in my opinion. But I must say I'm happy to say that Auchentoshan got it right. And I know that these are created by Jeremy Stevens because he's got this soft spot for his wine casks, and I know that he's got a few left. So there will be some more of these. Now, 3 years ago, they released this one at World of Whiskies, which is a tax-free shop in a couple of airports in the UK. I know there is one in Glasgow, for example. When I go to visit Auchentoshan, I always fly over Glasgow, and I know there's a World of Whiskies in Glasgow. There's also one in London where I met the wonderful Christos, a good friend of mine, who often helps me obtain new Auchentoshan tax-free, duty-free releases without me having to fly out there. He just gets them and then ships them to me. Thank you, Christos, good friend. Now, they did this in 3 years ago. They released the 99. Now, what is so special about this one is not only that it is a limited edition, only available through World of Whiskies and by now completely sold out, but this is not wine finished. No, this goes further than that. This one is wine matured. So the Auchentoshan spirit, the delicate, wonderful spirit that... Have you ever tried the spirit? That's for another rambling. But anyway, it's... oh my god. Anyway, I was talking about this one. This one did not mature on bourbon barrels first and then go into wine casks. No, they simply put the spirit into the wine casks, in the Limousin Oak, in the Saint-Julien Bordeaux Vin Rouge Fût. Voilà, le spirit dedans, et voilà, la maturation peut commencer. 9 years in red wine casks, and then they bottled this beauty at a cask strength of 58.2%. And they released it only through World of Whiskies, and I believe it to be a sort of a test case. See how it goes. And, well, it sold out in weeks, months at the most. So they knew they had something going here, and that's why they decided to release the rest of their casks as well 2 years later. It's still at 58%, so the Angels only took a fifth of 1% at that point. 2 years later, they had the 1999 distilled Auchentoshan matured in Bordeaux casks for the full amount of 11 years, and then they bottled this one, and that's the one I would like to try today. like I said, approaching with respect, approaching with apprehension. It's a wine matured, which is always it's a bit of hit and miss. Well, let me tell you, this is a hit, and I will prove it to you. Obviously, I've tasted it before. Duh. I am, after all, the Toshan Man. When I first acquired this last year, I believed it to be the exact same whiskey as the one that was bottled for World of Whiskies. The ABV sort of confirms it. The fact that it was both distilled in 99, and so I believe it to be the same casks that were filled in 1999. 11 years old. Let's find out what this is. Now you can see that the wine has imparted quite a bit of the colour on this whiskey. It is a beautiful amber with even a bit of an orange pink hue in there. So the wine casks have obviously left their mark on the spirit here, colour wise. But what about the nose and the taste? Let's give this one a go. Ooh. The wine is there, definitely. Sweet and sour, they are in a headlock over supremacy here. But it's the summer berries, the gooseberry, the currants, the junipers that come out victorious here. So it's not vinous at all. It is the wine is supportive here. It's you know, it's not overpowering at all. It's not taking over the spirit, and it's not making it whiny at all. It keeps the sweetness. It keeps the subtle summer fruits are allowed to come out. You know, it's beautiful. There is this sour touch of it's a bit like tangerines, and maybe even grapes. I even get some chocolate and even a flinty side, some mineral. It's weird, but it is very good. It's lovely. It's lovely. It remains true to the Auchentoshan style. So it's in no way unpleasant. Hell, I even get some chocolate. and something meaty. But again, it's not unpleasant, and if you allow the nose to breathe a little, if you allow the spirit, the whiskey to breathe, it becomes better. There's a touch of cinnamon and cloves in there. This is very good. This is a very nice nose. And again, and maybe that's because Auchentoshan is triple distilled and therefore much more delicate than double distilled whiskey. You wouldn't be able to tell from the nose that this is 58% ABV. Ooh, yeah. It is soft and creamy. It's powerful, obviously. I mean, 58%, but it's soft and creamy. And again, I make these association with red summer fruit. You know, there's even some strawberry in there. The wine influence is obvious, of course, but how can it not be? I mean, this is matured, not finished. This is matured on wine casks, on Bordeaux wine casks. So for 11 years, it was tucked away in the wine casks. Obviously, the wine will be noticeable, but again, it's the red summer fruits. It's pleasant, and it's, may I say it, it is even better than the 99 World of Whiskies edition, which the nose was on the verge of going the wrong way, on the verge of going vinous. So I think the 2 extra years of maturation in the cask have allowed the whiskey to mellow a bit more and to get more round and to get, you know, to prove itself. That's what it did, because this is good. And creamy. This is really good. And again, 58%. No scorching. I do not feel the need to add water. I'm just going to do this to find out if it can take water. I'm just going to add a few drops of water just to find out if it can deal with water, and if it changes, yes or no, and if it does, for better or for worse. Because 58% is still a high ABV, and many people will not be able to cope with it, or will not be willing to cope with it. So they might want to add some water. Now that's what I call a swimmer. A swimmer is a whiskey that can take water in an elegant way and even makes it open up or maybe transforms it a little, changes it a little, maybe not for the better, but certainly not for the worse. In this case, it's for the better, because in this case the meaty, flinty mineral side is toned down, while the summer fruits are allowed to open up more. Some strawberry in there, some juniper, and the wine is settling down and allowing the true character of Auchentoshan, the sweet, delicate spirit, to come out. This is good. Yeah, even with water, it remains flavoursome, full of flavour. It remains enticing. This is good. This is mouth-watering. I'm sorry. This is mouth-watering. The finish is my only point of criticism, if I may say so, because it is short. It's gone before you know it, and it ends in a slightly bitter death, slightly like grapefruit, you know. Yeah, it's got this, just a touch of bitterness, just a bitter edge on the finish, which is, in my opinion, too short. But apart from that, this is a wonderful, wonderful whiskey. If ever you want to try a wine finished whiskey, or in this case a wine matured whiskey, I think the Auchentoshan 99, the 11-year-old, is the way to go. There are many more beautifully wine finished whiskies out there, absolutely. But this one is one of the whiskies that does it right. This is one that is beautifully crafted. It's not vinous at all. It is not winey. It is not sourish. There's no. It's just great. It's just a great whiskey, and the price you have to pay for a bottle of this is just one you have to get, because wine finishes are often looked down upon again. So not only do you have connoisseurs who look down on wine finishes, you also have connoisseurs who look down on Auchentoshan for reasons previously explained. They are so wrong. They are so wrong. Take it from me, take it from the Toshan Man. This Bordeaux Cask Matured Auchentoshan is an absolutely stunning whiskey. I thank you for your attention. I hope to see you again at one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings. Until then, may the malt be with you. Bye bye.